So you've probably clicked this link because you're wondering what else I have to say about Scaled Agile Framework. You might have heard some of my other podcasts with my buddy Roy, where we talk about it. Now let's examine transparently what exactly is wrong with SAFE from the ground up. Let's first of all examine what SAFE looks like as a structure. If you haven't already seen what this framework looks like, I would like you to Google Scaled Agile Framework for Enterprise, SAFE. Take a look at that framework. In all of your understanding in the Agile Manifesto values and principles, is what you see in that framework truly representative of the values of Agile? Just in case you have forgotten about the values of Agile, I am going to cover the Agile Manifesto value number 1. The first value states individuals and interactions over processes and tools. That is what we have come to value as Agilists. Think about that. If you truly value individuals and interactions over processes and tools, why in the world would you choose a framework that looks like this? Take a very close look at the multiplicity of components. And we're just talking about the very first page. If you flip the pages, you find an overview, essential, large solution, portfolio, and full. And honestly, each one of those pages is a nightmare to anyone who truly espouses value number 1. Individuals and interactions over processes and tools. This framework, even at its essential level, is not agile in appearance. Let's just talk about appearance. In appearance, it's not. In terms of the number of components, this is too much to be agile. Now, a lot of people in the agile community, far and wide, have beaten other frameworks that look like this over the head as being hopeless, useless, cumbersome, and not worthy of consideration to even be called remotely agile. Case in point, the Project Management Institute's PMBOK. The Project Management Institute's PMBOK guide has gotten a terrible rap as a result of the size of the components, the processes, and the inputs, tools, techniques, and so on. Now, in the same breath, the same level of scrutiny that people give to the PMBOK guide should be given to this framework. And what you'll see is some elements of hypocrisy, because the same people who criticize the PMI's PMBOK guide for being too rigorous and lumbering are the same people worshiping the Scaled Agile framework. You can see there's something wrong with that. It's a double standard. The PMBOK guide as a framework is meant to be more for projects, and is meant to be more associated with a largely traditional approach to project management. Let's just keep it real. It's more for a traditional approach. If a traditional approach's framework could have all those moving parts and components, it's almost excusable, but still not excusable, because it can be whittled down a lot more. How much more an agile framework? So even at the essential level, this is problematic. How much more the large solution level and the portfolio level? Now, in the world of the PMBOK and PMI, you actually see things in reverse. The number of components diminishes as you scale up, but not so with SAFE. That is a huge problem. When you take a look at the SAFE pieces and components and the so-called values, you see that there is a lack of regard for the Agile Manifesto principles and values. Another principle, principle number 10, in the Agile Manifesto, it states, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done, is essential. When you take a look at this framework, what you see, don't say it's a framework because we've already established that this is a nightmare. But this is not simple at any stretch. This is maximizing the amount of work done. This is maximizing the amount of overhead. Taking a look at the needless training that needs to occur to understand all of these moving components at different levels. This is not simplicity. So this contravenes the Agile Manifesto, in my opinion. Now let's take the term scaled agile. Let's just take that term, scaled agile, and let's be perfectly honest. When you examine this, how do you scale a mindset? You see, this is the problem at the heart. Seeing agile as a framework instead of seeing agile as a mindset. Agile is not a framework. It is not a collection of methods. It is not a collection of tools. It is a mindset. And if you get that wrong right from the get-go, then you're going to build a lot of rubbish on top. And that is what is happening here. Not realizing that agile is a mindset. You cannot scale agile because it's a mindset. You can scale practices and you can scale processes. But when it comes to a mindset, that in and of itself is a problem to me. You cannot scale a mindset. Secondly, you cannot say agile is a framework. Now, as I said earlier, people hate PMI, Project Management Institute. It's gotten a bad rap, but when it comes to this huge potpourri of process, overhead, laborious activity, people gravitate towards it. I have a problem with that. Instead of people uncovering new ways of doing things using the aspects that we all know in Agile of inspect and adapt, people tend to think that experimentation and discovery is no longer needed. They tend to think they have this framework that will be a one-size-fits-all and answer all problems known to man. No. This is also a delegated, project-driven mindset, where if there was any project personnel or scrum master or team personnel, they become statisticians as opposed to being out-of-the-box thinkers. So I have huge problems with this. If you are one of my students, I highly advise you to stay clear of this so-called framework. I highly advise all of my clients, individual customers, companies, stay clear of this framework. This is not what you want to be doing to be agile. See, there are a lot of people doing agile, but they're not truly being agile in thought. Because if they were being agile in thought, there's no way they would even consider this foolishness.